Hey guys, I figured I would pop on real quick since I just got home before I had to do all my chores for the day and show y'all how I do relay the fabric for the 30 ounce. I don't have a 30 ounce curved cup, so I'm actually going to be doing a 40 ounce. You can do it on a 40, you can do it on a 30. So it came to our attention today in looking through the lives that we don't have any that actually show how we place our fabric on the cups. So hop on and do that. So just so you see, this is one that I've been working to finish. This is a 30 ounce Ozark trail tumbler. I don't use Ozark trails very often anymore, partially because for like my painted and glittered cups, I don't like the logo showing. And I've gotten really hooked on the sliding lids too. But I do still have some, if they're ever having a real good sale, I do pick them up. Or if somebody needs something really last minute, and I don't have one in stock of my other 30 ounces, then I can go and grab one as long as the customer's good with it. So again, this is 30 ounce Ozark Trail with cotton lycra. I highly recommend using cotton lycra on your 30 ounce tapered cups, especially that style, the Yeti type style, over cotton woven for two reasons. One, it's easier to line the patterns up, and two, because cotton woven doesn't have as much stretch, you're actually going to come back with a lot more waste for your fabric, because rather than a majority of it wrapping around, you're going to have some that ends up wrapping up and wrapping down. Now you can use cotton woven if you're all right with that bit of waste, or if it's a pattern that customer just has to have. This is cotton woven. Now this is one of the more of the modern curve. It's not like the original modern curve from like Stainless Depot or any of those places. As you can see by the lid, I think this was actually a cup that I picked up at Big Lots on sale. And I stripped it. It was stainless and had some words on it. But this is, I wanted to show this because this is an example of the pattern of fabric that I will use of cotton woven on this style, because the pattern is so random and placed. You're not going to notice at the seam if the pattern is not lining up, because you're used to it, because there's my seam there. And on this, patterns like this I love anyways, because it's almost kind of really hard to even find your seam. Excuse my coughing, I'm sorry. But again, I'm going to be doing this on a 40 ounce tumbler. It's already been sanded. It's just been sitting here needing something on it. I had stripped it before. And this is the fabric that I'm going to use. So this is cotton woven, cotton lycra. And this is a standard 9x14 cut, so this isn't even something massive. When you're using cotton lycra, you really can use these tumbler cuts on a 40 ounce. I recommend doing it more with the darker patterns, just because, and if you do use a lighter one, then you definitely want to like spray paint your base white, just because you do get a little bit more stretch. So I'm going to move y'all over here some. And I'll start Mod Podging a tumbler. And I always do a nice thick layer of Mod Podge. Because I tend to kind of pick it up and move it around on these. Yes, Ruth, I do use cotton woven on some of mine. It's great on the skinnies, and again, if you've got the right pattern, it works fine on those modern curves too. But I have done them on these more tapered, mid-taper, I don't even know, original. What do we even call these anymore? Original style 30 ounces. You just have to be a bit more selective of your patterns. So I'm going to try to do this as best I can where you see it. So I'm going to start. I'm actually going to start at the top on these. So what I do is I just put it, and the first thing I'm going to do is wrap it and stretch it around the top. And I want to be stretching it the entire time I go around it, not just trying to stretch it at the end. So from the very beginning, I'm going to pull it taut, not worrying about the bottom and what that does, because I'm going to go back. And it does not need to be perfect. The main thing I'm doing here is just continuing to stretch. So you see you're going to get wrinkles and stuff like that. That's fine. Just holding it there. I'm going to come back and pull this back more. And then I'm going to go ahead and start smoothing. You've got to be okay on these, in my opinion, with your design not fully lining up. So again, I'm just going back around and smoothing, pulling down, and then if I need to make adjustments, stretch a little bit more in places, I can do that. So here, I'm going to stretch a little bit more because I had kind of let it go. Right here where it's kind of bunched, I'm going to go back, move it, pull it down, just keep smoothing. That's it. And I'm not worried about this edge over here because I'm going to go back and cut it straight. So again, I picked a pattern that's not super straight or anything. but I do want this part right here to be flat. So I'm not going to Mod Podge my fabrics on top of each other. I want them to just kind of start sticking and adhere to the stainless first. And I'm going to set it to the side for a little bit. Just a few minutes and kind of make sure it's good and stuck. So while that is happening, I'll bring you back to me. The other tools that I use for my seams, I always have my fabric scissors, a rotary cutter, electrical tape. You can use washi tape too. I've used that just fine. Electrical tape works a little bit better on the 30-ounce original style or Yeti style tumblers. And then I use this laser level cube that you may have seen if you've watched my other lives, but it is the Ryobi compact laser cube. You can get them at Home Depot, not at Lowe's. They do carry other ones at Lowe's, but they are way more expensive. This is about $14 from Home Depot, and you can order them online if you don't have a Home Depot that is near you, or if they don't have them in stock, you can order them and have them parcel shipped to you. So I take it and you actually turn it upside down, and then that way you have a straight and level guide to put your tape. I know there's only a few of you on right now, but does anyone have any questions for the wrapping? When I first started doing these more on the 30 ounces, you can also start and try to wrap in the middle and stretch, but I found over time I prefer doing it from the top so I have an idea how much stretch I'm getting, because with cotton woven, if you do stretch too much, you will be able to see all of the lines. And I mean, with any stretch, you may see some of them, but it's just kind of the trade-off you get. I may have to keep this one for myself. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. I can't decide if I want to wrap it around the bottom of this one or not. Oh, no questions. I'm going to go ahead and move on. I'm getting ready to show you, Ruth. So you will bring y'all down a little bit more. Okay. So the next thing is figuring out where I want my seam to be. So you need to make sure that you're not putting your seam too close to the edge. So I always give myself another maybe half an inch. So I'm thinking it's going to be right about here. Give me plenty of room. I know my surface is level, so we're good. I'm going to turn it on, and again, it's upside down to go up your cup, and place it where you want it to go. So you can see I've got a light going all the way up. It goes through the curve and everything. So the next thing you have to make sure that you do for these is before you place your tape, you've got to make sure that you continue to pull it over. So you can do this and pull to make sure that it's straight. Now, if you're just having real issues getting it to stay, another thing you can do is tape it down. To help get that extra bit out of your way. So again, get it pulled nice and taut. Here, we'll have to do this in my lap a little bit. Alright, so you get pulled nice and taut, and then I'm just going to take the tape and tape it from top to bottom. Excuse my dog that's currently trying to escape out of its crate. So I'm going to tape it actually to the inside of the cup. Push it down. And then tape it to the bottom. So that helps give me a little bit more hold there on my curve. So this is just an extra tape. It's not my actual seam. So then I've got that, I'm going to go back, find where I want my seam again. Okay, so there's the edge of my fabric. And then just going to lay a little bit harder doing it from the side than it is from the front. Okay. Just right at the edge of that laser level line. You can unplace it and replace it as often as you want with this. Okay. And then I do the same thing. I go ahead and tape it on the insides too. One thing to make sure that you do, especially if you put your tape pretty close to the edge of one of your pieces of fabric, is make sure that you know which side of your electrical tape or washi tape that that you need to cut on. I have totally cut on the wrong side and then ended up with this stainless, this blank stainless steel part. That is not a fun thing to have happen. So. Yes, this is cotton lycra, but I have used cotton woven. Then going to cut my seams. So the sharper your rotary cutter is, the better. This is not very sharp, so I'm going kind of back and forth over it. But I find, listen for the crunch. It's also very satisfying that way. Oh, turn my laser level off. I always press down right here in the middle. And I'm really not trying to get through both layers of fabric here. I'm really only trying to get through that top layer for right now. And then, see, pull it a little bit, see where you need to go back over. And I always have to go back over it. And then any of the places where it's just 1 or 2 threads, I just go back with my fabric scissors and do a little nip nip. If you end up with an issue in the curve, just use your scissors. Bigger area. And then use it to cut off my rim. It works for both methods, Mona, but you're not going to be able to pull as much. So part of your fabric's going to go up the curve, and the other part is going to go down. Once I do this, I don't have one to actually do, but I'll kind of show you what I mean. So now that I've got that top, and I'm sure there's some places where it's cut through, you want to, again, move it, make sure you're happy with it. So I actually did not get that totally straight. So I'm gonna have to stretch it some more on the top. All right. My tape didn't hold on the top when I was doing that. So then I just pull it over and that's better. Trim this up a little bit. So then, with this still all taped down, I still have my edge. I'm going to go back now and cut through the bottom layer. to remove the tape. And cutting like that extra, and I'm going to be pulling these pieces off. This is how I get my kiss cut seams. And you just start pulling down. If you find somewhere where you need a little bit extra cut, like through this curve, let's do that. And just follow that line, because when you do it the first time, you can see the line, the indentation. Okay, and then the last little bit, and snip. Right. So then you've got this. You're gonna have to Mod Podge and kind of do some smoothing again on the bottom. But now you've got your line and you know where you need to have them meet up. Got a clump in my Mod Podge bottle. Yeah. The clump came out. And just everywhere that you pulled this fabric up, just Mod Podge right on top of the seam. It's gonna get a good layer of Mod Podge over it anyway. And then I'm just gonna start wrapping and pressing your seams together. Now, if you've got some areas because of the stretch that just really want to keep pulling away, then you can take rubber bands and wrap around those areas. There's your seam. And normally I would go ahead and Mod Podge all of this, but I want to show y'all something with the cotton woven and what I'm talking about as far as your waist and the way it's going to have to turn. So I don't want Mod Podge on the outside of this too, because I'm going to use the same tumbler. So let me get a piece of cotton woven real quick. Get my giant tub of fabric down. So, let's see. For example. Here is, actually, I'm not going to do it on the 40. I changed my mind. On the 30. So, where before, with the cotton lycra, you could pull it a whole lot. You can pull a little. It kind of depends on the cotton woven. So if we try doing it the same way, you just, there's not enough give at the top for the stretch for this to smooth without getting wrinkled. So what you end up doing is angling it and then smoothing from the bottom around. But what that does, you see, it's going up. So I end up this spot down here. So see, like right here, I'd have to redo it because I've got this spot unless I did really big seams. And then you have this part. So, and you just don't have as much room like before, where I had, you know, all that extra on a 40 ounce, same size piece of fabric. I had all this extra space to play with as far as where I wanted my seam to go. Here, I've got about half an inch to play with right here, as opposed to, all of this extra. So that's on a 30. If I try to do that same thing on 40, I'm going to start at an I mean, maybe for the 9x14, if you really play with it, you might be able, but you really have to work at it. So it will go on, but see the difference in the angle, and again, you don't have very much wiggle room. That's actually the end right there. So you've really got to kind of pull and stretch from all areas, top, middle, bottom, everywhere, and then just keep rubbing it down and keep rubbing it down. So it is possible, but you've got to make sure that your cut is big enough, because 9x14's cutting it kind of close. This cotton woven actually has got a good bit of give to it. That's what I pulled out from the debauchery. Right. So yeah, so the main difference in cotton woven and cotton lycra is cotton lycra, I stretch from the top. Cotton woven, you've really got to play with it from all angles. That's what she said. So, I hope that's been helpful. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. Or if you have a different way or a different method or a cheat or helpful tips and tricks weeks, then please, please, please go live. We have the awesome Training Wheels group for going live. If you've never gone live before and you would like to test it and do one outside of this group, we do have a secret group. Just message one of the admins, and we will get you added to the group and help you in any way that we can. Remember, every month we do a contest or a giveaway for those of you that do lives. So you do a live or any sort of tutorial. It can be pre-recorded. You get entered in automatically as well. There is a thread for that that Meg posts just after you go through and do it, just to make sure that it doesn't get lost and that you're included in the drawing. Go and make a comment on Meg's post and just note what tutorial or live you did, and she will make sure that you are entered in at the end of August. So new month, new giveaway. I'm going to try to do a better job of doing shorter lives that just cover one, maybe two things, depending upon what the method is. So hopefully it'll be easier for those of you to find things, so that different things don't get lost in the weeds. I do a lot of requests during my lives. If there's something that y'all want to show and I've got some time, something needs to sit for a while, I normally will pop in and do that. And I like multitasking. So it's normally how I craft. I don't craft, and then I do 5 million things at once. So again, I hope this was helpful. Cotton Lycra on a 40-ounce Ozark Trail tumbler. All right, hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Bye.